Wow, what a game. A constant back and forth. And finally, we saw some Li Ming in action, played by none other than Lockdown. Jay-How, what kind of an impact did that hero make?
I don't even know if we can highlight one person. I mean, that was an all-out bloodbath. I mean, they were back and forth. The total kills was, I think, a combined 30+ in that game. I mean, there were so many highlights on both sides. Right. I mean, we saw Tempest able to pull it out, but that was not an easy victory.
There is one thing in particular, though, that I want to note. There was a lot of people doubting TRL. My man Dog has been prevented from picking his infamous Tassadar for a few games, and I think he was pretty angry here. Landed some very good sanctification and really helped his team a lot.
It was definitely not an easy victory, though, and I have to say that I feel eStar threw away a very big opportunity to take the lead in this game now, in this series. They were ahead, they played very nicely, and then all of a sudden, they got greedy. They got very condescending there. I said, like, yeah, we got this locked down, and the Koreans just showed them that you can't give them an opening. They punished them hard.
Right. Yes, they did.
Lockdown's on the other side.
Exactly. Lockdown on the other side, and that's all she wrote.
All right, Jay-How, replay number 1 stands ready.
Yeah, this was a really cool fight that actually happened very early on. We see it's only 8.5 minutes in, but look at the collapse from Tempest. They're going to come in, and we just see a lot of fights. The mosh pit was canceled out there. The Ancestral landed. It really kept this fight going, but very deep in is Tiger. He's trying to be able to thwart off everything that's going on. The back and forth very early. You can see the dwarf toss over. This was the fun part, the disengage from Greymane. And things looked really good for Tempest early on, but this is actually where eStar looked really good because you can see they're still very healthy. On the backside, Tempest in a little bit of trouble. There is our man Tyrael getting caught out. We're going to run this forward just a little bit because nice power slide coming in from ETC, and that really keeps things going. But this is where things get fun. Caldor had a little bit of fun backstage with this. This is a little bit longer one. We're going to let this play as it goes. Let's just keep it in full speed, and we'll let it play out. And now we see Falstad. He's kind of coming in. He sees Lockdown. He's got a target in his sight. He barrel rolls over. Beautiful barrel roll. That's going to get him. Now, here's the fun part. Let's slow it down.
I remember this.
Caldor, yeah, me and Caldor are having fun. Let's rewind it real quick. This is where it's fun. Sonia's like, oh, look, I've got a Falstad. But there's a few people that are coming to join the party. Let's go ahead and run it forward again. This is Sonia going in and instantly, look at that, getting blown up. So what looked like an early win for Tempest turned around for eStar. That was the back and forth.
And that was a bait. They played with the vision. They made sure that they only show Falstad, and Sonia was like, wait a moment, I can kill this. And I was like, no, you don't.
Yeah, that was a fun one backstage.
Let's talk about the replay for a moment, though, because I'm pretty sure that we're going to see it in later on as well. There was one player that disappointed me a lot in this game. We have highlighted already Tiger on his Rhaegar, and he plays an exceptional Rhaegar, but his charism was very subpar. We saw it in this fight already. The Divine Palms, it was more like face palms, to be honest with you. He did not hit the Greymane. He triggered the palm, or he hit the palm on ETC when there was no need to do that. Right. It didn't trigger, and that was a constant theme throughout the entire game. He had massive problems on that hero.
So we better make Tiger watch some more Splendor and Bake replays for that one, for sure. But replay number 2 is ready.
Guys, you want to talk about Tyrael play? Let's pause it right now. Right here, he dove in. That's the holy ground at 16. We talked about this before it ever started. They cannot cross this line.
If I remember correctly, this is also another moment where we're going to see charism with a palm.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, let's run it forward real quick. Take a look. Lockdown on the other side with Li Ming. He's being targeted, but there's the sanctification as well. But on the backside, the positioning, this is what triggers it. You see right there. There's the Divine Palm, but that leaves NCCC in there. He's stuck. He has nowhere to go. Palm is already there. That is where Tyrael really shines. This, again, where the back and forth happened. This forces Xing Si to try and get back and return some of that. Lockdown goes down because of the aggression. But there is one more kill to be had, and that's going to be Falstad right there. So the back and forth, that was a 3-for-3 trade, all triggered by that holy ground by Tyrael.
Yeah, Tyrael with exceptional play. But again, if you compare that to what we've seen from Splendor throughout the week with the palms, where he waits for the last moment possible, he sacrifices himself for the team. He palms himself. Li Ming has nothing left. She fired her entire arsenal on him. He can't die in that moment. He has to realize that if he saves Thrall there and the palm triggers, we're seeing a different fight. Of course, there were a lot of things happening here, but that was definitely one of the crucial moments.
Yeah, and it's nice to see that even the Asian teams can learn a few things from Western teams here and there. So definitely a good point there. For now on, we're going to move on to the next battleground, which is going to be Towers of Doom. We see it another time here in this playoff stage, and that's the cool thing about best of fives. You get to see Battleground that you otherwise wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, eventually something's got to break. You can only ban out so many maps, and Towers of Doom is going to be game number 4. I almost want to see game number 5 on Garden of Terror.
Yeah, I want to have that. I definitely want to have that. That would be absolutely amazing. And I feel eStar, they have to definitely show something right now. They have shown in the last few games that they can definitely take games off Tempest, and they were very close in Cursed Hollow too. But you cannot allow the Koreans to... If you can't make mistakes like that, they will punish you. They are that good.
Yeah, they took a very unnecessary fight across the map, so they shouldn't let that happen. The last few drafts, by the way, really felt like both teams were trying to go for comfort picks as much as they are trying to prevent their opponents to go for some. And there were a lot of steals happening. And again, with the Tassadar ban here on eStar.
And there's only so many heroes you can ban away from DuckDuck. I mean, Tassadar once again being chosen, but his Tyrael, as you mentioned, Todd, was on point.
Absolutely.
I'm curious if eStar, though, because Tiger, they banned out Uther, right? And the second man did Tempest. And I'm wondering if maybe eStar might try to pick up maybe an early Uther or Rhaegar this time around, as opposed to being forced into something like Kharazim, something they might not be as comfortable with.
We have actually Kelthas taken, but Jeho, you make a very good point. I really feel if he gets the chance, he's going to jump back on that Rhaegar. He's way stronger on Rhaegar than he was on Kharazim. Maybe he just had a bad game, it happens. But that's something that Tempest identified early, and they said, okay, there's a weak point right there, and we are going to exploit it as much as we can.
And just like that, a hero that was neither picked or banned last game, he's picked first here by Tempest, so I guess good old Kelthas is back.
There's also another hero that I really expect here, Falstad, because Falstad is amazing on this map. In the European meta, in the Western meta, we would have seen already Vikings being fought over, but that's a very different playstyle that we're seeing here right now. And China is once again true to their colors. They're starting with an early Greymane. It's just one of the most highly prioritized heroes for both of these teams.
And if we were to be casting in a European match or an NA match, we might get to see some Vikings. What about the Asian regions, though, when it comes to Vikings?
I don't think it's something we see terribly often. I mean, it's just not... It's not something that they play. I think when we researched a lot of the draft data for these teams, it wasn't something that really showed up quite as much. But I think what we just talked about, the supports, they're picking up Uther. They might be looking at another Tyrael, of course, to pair with that Greymane. It's something that we've seen a lot of this week. But you talked about Falstad, lockdown on Falstad. That's his hero that he's known for. Is that what we're going to see here in this part of the draft phase?
I hope so. Jumping back on that Vikings idea, by the way, too. We have talked about like these teams being very aggressive, and especially the Chinese teams. They want to team fight all day long. That is what they're known for. This is what they're comfortable with. And if you just look at the games that My Insanity played with Vikings against, for example, like Korean teams, that aggression, these team fights, they made them struggle. These Asian teams, they don't like to draw the games out. They want to have high risk, high reward fights and really roll over an opponent.
Right, so Vikings most likely not going to be an option according to Calder. So what other heroes could be prioritized instead? We see a Muradin coming in here for Team Tempest. Now it's on to the second ban round. And
I almost feel like this is perfect for eStar. They're able to ban Sonya, or basically any hero that they want. I feel like they could easily pick up Falstad for themselves and then possibly go into the Tyrael.
They have also an option to go into Thrall if he's not being banned out. We already saw them in the last game going for Thrall here. But there's, of course, a couple of things, especially with the Falstad, that you could still play if you want to take it away from your opponent. Tempest needs a bit more sustained damage, but Muradin already gives them very huge presence in those fights. This is going to be great for them. And keep in mind that ETC is another hero that has still not been banned or picked.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised, actually, if they go into that eStar with how much they lack him. Shouty has played so many games on the ETC, and a lot of the time he lands some very good mosh pits.
Very good is an understatement. That guy has landed legendary mosh
practically a DJ at this point.
And there we go.
That makes the most sense, because keep in mind, there's good synergy there with Uther as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we do see Tyrael at some point, and or a Falstad.
This is really cool that we now see the ETC ban, because another warrior that we almost forgot to mention is Johanna. What happened to her? These Asian teams don't pick her at all.
She doesn't provide a whole lot of... She's just solid, right? If you're looking for somebody safe and solid, you go with Johanna. She's not a bad hero. It's just like there's better options, and I think other heroes provide a little bit more utility. I mean, you talk about Tyrael diving in. We have the Sanctification. We have the Divine Shield, all to help supplement Greymane looking across the board at that Kel'Thas. I mean, that is what you dive heavy with. And another hero I guess we kind of forgot about, guys.
No,
his name is Illidan. I mean, think about the dive comp you have with Tyrael, Uther.
Insane.
I mean, we saw the hunt earlier on this map.
Yeah, and this is actually one of the heroes that complements, again, this idea of a draft. Tyrael sank, Greymane jumps in Worgen form. You have a Thrall, you have an Illidan, you have a Sonya. No matter what, they're going deep with it.
Ooh.
I actually like that they are currently thinking about switching up. I feel that Tempest is not going to go for that Illidan. They take a risk here, of course, because the Korean team could do it. But Falstad is huge here. Going for the chick in this case, I like it a lot.
Yeah, there's already a Muradin and Kael'thas, so it could be scary, but I guess they would have the Divine Shield and the Sanctification, but instead gonna go for the Falstad, and that's not gonna be just a good solid pickup for themselves. That also means that Tempest cannot have him.
I think it really complements eStar's composition well, because if you have Greymane, you're going in. Illidan stays on somebody and he eventually kills them, and he's a complete harassing type character, whereas Greymane will blow you up really quick. And I think having Falstad there to help control some of the fights, if things go wrong, he's got the Mighty Gust. He adds to the soaking capabilities to be able to move from top to bottom, and this is an objective-based map, which requires quite a bit of mobility.
Sylvanas for Wailing Arrow, so once that we have the big engage from Greymane, that could definitely be a turning point in these fights, and Tempest has shown very nice fight control, especially on Cursed Hollow, so this is a very cool pick for them. On a map like Towers of Doom, of course, they are going to attempt to get the additional bell towers. Once that you end up trading bell towers and you're able just to establish one, your opponent tries to retake it, you push on another side of the map, you can really get some momentum going for it.
I mean, think about it. Tempest, they are known for their team fighting and being really good at it. They're facing a team that's going to rely a lot on their heroics in order to be able to do well in those team fights. Sylvanas is a really good choice. It's going to be able to silence a lot of these heroes.
I wouldn't be surprised if eStar doesn't pick up another warrior to try and supplement that front line to help deal with quite a bit of what they'll be getting in return. There's always the threat of Kael'thas, but when you talk about the D-Shield, the Sanctification, but a denial of what would probably be paired up with Tyrael is a Nubarak being picked up for Tempest.
What did I tell you?
I could have seen that Anubarak on the side of eStar as well. With Tyrael going deep, having the Anubarak in a bit of a bruiser type as well, that could work, especially if you're trying to go for Kael'thas, of course.
What is there left for
Tychus,
eStar,
guys? Tychus?
I don't know if you want to go single Tyrael.
Yeah, you want to have someone else at the front line. And
It's
even
eStar,
if you
man.
decide to not go for a warrior, you can still throw a Thrall in. There is still an Illidan around. So even if you say, yes, we are fine with Tyrael as the main tank, you need someone else at his side to really make sure that he's not being blown up in seconds.
What's really nice about having Anubarak here as well is that depending on what composition exactly, and that last pick in particular, they're going to face, Tempest could go for Cocoon if they wanted to over Locust Swarm.
Now this is getting interesting. This is not what I expected. Are they going to throw a wrench? I mean, they only have a few seconds left. They do. Is this an isolate the front, harass the back in Kael'thas, or is this vice versa?
I mean, you can Void Gust, I suppose, to isolate someone if you really feel the need, if you're kind of desperate in these fights. There's a lot of potential with this, but it's also extremely risky.
Just want to throw in a little bit of nostalgia in here. Do you remember the times when you had Judgment, Hinterlands Blast?
Yeah. And
Is
actually,
it entirely impossible?
yes.
Okay. Damn.
At least I believe though. I would be the first guy who says like, no, I want to see this. And I've been actually saying all week, I want one of those teams to go full YOLO and just go for their Judgment, go for their leave, and just try to blow up the back line, but with Cleanse being around and everything.
Even before that, it was all about that VP, Divine Storm, and Hinterland Blast. Remember, those were the times.
Zeratul, high risk, high reward. He has one of the highest win rates of any hero over the last few months. He has to be played well, and I think at this level of competition, he's also going to be countered well. It's going to be a matter. It's going to be a battle of wills for those two teams, and it's going to hinge a lot on what Zeratul can bring to the table.
Yeah, you're totally right with that. Zeratul is going to try and pressure Kael'thas, is going to try and pressure Sylvanas, especially with potential Vorpal Blades coming in. A lot is going to hinge on him. The front line is a bit on the weak side with only Tyrael there, but of course he has his shields, you have the Uther to really help him out too. So if they play it right, they can do a lot with it, but this is a comp that is very reliant on everybody on the team just playing an absolutely top-notch game.
Do you think when it comes to rotations that eStar Gaming can actually keep up with Tempest? I mean, they've got Sylvanas, and if they ever make it like out of a team fight coming out with 2 heroes on top, maybe 3 heroes on top, they can immediately take many Beltars. Do you think that's going to cause a problem, guys?
I don't really see that as a necessary issue. I'm looking at it real quick. Falstad, of course, is going to help. I mean, he can join a fight late if he needs to, help clear up some of the waves. Zeratul, he'll be roaming around. He's not bad at clearing waves. I mean, that's the thing. It's just interesting. How will he be built is the main question. Level 1, level 4. I think we will be seeing Vorpal Blade, as Kaldor said, but Gathering Power is an option. It's not something that's out of the ordinary for Korean teams.
There's also gank potential, of course, for eStar now. They can just simply like move a Zeratul across the map and fly in with Falstad and try to blow a target away. So there's a lot of potential with the draft for sure.
Right, guys, so sorry, Todd, but the teams are ready, and we have to get those predictions going. And Todd, we start with you.
I quite like the draft for MVP for Tempest, but I want a 3-2 no matter what, and I always vote with my heart, so it's going to be eStar taking this one here.
All right, Calder.
I voted with my heart as well. I like the global presence of Falstad. I say eStar.
And Jao.
I am all aboard eStar right now. Zeratul, I love the risk versus reward factor. I think he's going to be a high reward for them.
And that's the exact same reason why I'm going to vote for eStar as well. I really like their comp. It adds so much flashiness to those team fights, so definitely eStar has my vote. For now, we're going to throw it over to our happy little caster duo, Gillyweed and Kalaris. Take us to Towers of Doom, guys.
Gilly looked into a crystal ball and decided to just call every single member of eStar's draft. I didn't know the spiritual connection for you with China was quite that good.
Well, man, with GC in his winner's interview, he said that there's potential for Zhao Ti and Naicha to retire after this, so they want the win.
Yeah.
And what better way to bring it back to a game number 5 than with comfort picks for every single player, which is, of course, how I predicted that.
Indeed, Gilly, let's get into it as we have Tempest to the left-hand side, one game away from the grand finals with Dami on Anubarak, Duck playing Sylvanas, Hyde on Rhaegar, Lockdown on Kayle Fast, and finally Honkono will be playing Muradin.
And in the red, it's Team eStar Gaming, with Tiger playing Uther, Zhao Ti on Zeratul, Shinxi playing Greymane, Tyrael played by Naicha, and Toomey playing Falstad.
All right, so as Gilly mentioned, big comfort picks already coming out here for eStar. This is where they're going to try and thrive under this pressure, as they've already taken reach at level 1 for Uther. So really looking to even just, it's a great poking tool to deny the potential of like channels on towards those shrines.
Again, Honkono doing what I love best that he does, which is whenever his team is trying to do something risky, like taking a neutral mercenary camp or pushing here, he sits where he knows the rotation will be, so he can keep an eye out for his team and delay if he needs to so they can get back.
Hey, you're totally right. It's really good warding overall to be able to spot where your opponent is going to be in those kinds of instances. And Dami's going to rotate to the top, start soaking that up. And likewise, they don't really know where Zeratul is just yet, but they could anticipate the potential of him being up towards the top here, as who else is going to be soaking that lane and even spotting him whilst he is invisible on Shouty.
Looking at the talents, everything very, very standard across the board, other than that reach that you mentioned. Dampen Magic will help out Anubarak versus some of the spell damage that can come out from eStar, which specifically later on, Falstad's going to get quite a bit because he did go for Gathering Storm over Seasoned Marksman on this battleground.
And it seems that eStar just live in bushes. She'll stick around in those for a little while. What's the potential of it catching out any rotations that would end up coming down? But Hyde and Lockdown are in the bottom lane at the moment, just chilling out and making sure that they're not going to be threatened too much whilst Honkono comes to, in essence, just protect them. Even just his presence there alone protects them from any kind of attack that would occur.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if they're not going for a pick on somebody. Yeah, if somebody gets out of position, they're going to go for them with a Stormbolt, but otherwise, he's always watching for rotations to come in to take out his teammates. And we are going to have the first altar phase spawning soon. Of course, it will be all three of the 4 that can spawn, 2 in the top and then all the way in the bottom.
And it causes chaos.
It does.
It causes a lot of chaos here from eStar's side of things, as well as Tempest. They're going to position Sylvanas to take this one. Lockdown as well up to the top. Honkono going to try and just delay and make sure that that won't be denied. But they're pressuring the top one. So they're going to try and put a lot of focus on towards these top 2.
Now they know that the bottom has 2 members, but with Falstad, he can fly up. So now it's a 4v4. As the Dami is rotating in, though, so he's going to be here just slightly faster than Greymane.
Oh,
we're going to get into the fight, though.
That Verdant Sphere Gravity Lapse was perfect there from Lockdown. He was able to take 3 away, and that's Zeratul already dying off. We're going to take Sylvanas in return, but it looks like Toomey will go down on the right-hand side as well. I think Tempest has got this fight under wraps, unless they actually lose Muradin towards the front. 2 for 2 at the moment, but Tiger and Xingxi are so low.
That's the thing about this double warrior composition is even if they lose one, they still have a strong frontliner. Lockdown catches Jinxie with the gravity lapse, but may pay for it as Jinxie catches him.
The tower kills Kale fast down towards the bottom. It has vision of him. Oh my god, and Tempest may have just overextended a little bit here. Dami should have Bro Charge away. Jinxie's going to try and chase here with Eldrarune's Might, and Falstaff's coming in as well, but Duck Duck is back. They've got to be very careful. Dami's probably going to go down.
Duck Duck and Hungona with that losing Dami and finally are going to disengage. They went for, they really thought that they could pressure in a way to get to, especially knowing that there are people in the bottom. With Falstad being able to fly in though, they were able to delay it out. Even though losing people, they still walked away with 2 of those 3 altars.
I think Kael'thas probably would have died anyway, but I didn't even realize that tower reached that far.
Just gotta give it vision, man.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. All right. Well, they're going to take some sappers towards the bottom, which are going to run in and explode on towards that wall if they're able to get there. So it's up to Kael'thas, but looks of things down towards the bottom to try and slow that down for just a little bit. But there is the potential of eStar escorting it and getting full value.
Right, it would start to take down some of those towers, give them experience, open up a way for them to get bell towers later on. But with a lot of members of Tempest here, this could be a problem. eStar standing strong though, continuing with those pumpkin sappers. Hyde getting away, but Jinxie using disengage to aggressively to make sure to pick up the kill. Dodges the flame strike using dark flight. Man, Jinxie's never get Greymane. His Greymane is just so good.
Yeah, it really is. I think minions killed Rhaegar at the end there. So a little bit unfortunate there for him. He was trying to jump away, using the minions even to throw a lunge away from melee auto attacks that were coming out from eStar, but it wasn't enough. Up to the top, Falstad was putting some pressure on against Sylvana. She will Haunting Wave away though and get that Tapka down.
Yeah, it's always nice to have Falstad versus Sylvanas, and that's something that we saw a lot right in the first phase.
Oh! And she gets popped.
Goodbye. The first phase of this tournament was a lot of Sylvanas versus Falstad play, making sure that he matches her location in lane so that she never gets free pushing done onto any structures.
Yeah, very important. She's got good pushing power, but not as much as she used to since the rework. But it's continuous pushing power. If you leave her alone, eventually it will snowball out of control. That's why it's always good instead of like little bursts that you see from other hard pushers in this game.
Well, once again, eStar has the early lead in this game. They've got a full level up. They're working toward getting their heroic abilities. Tiger kind of in trouble, though. Gets hit by a stun. Here comes Dami with the burrow charge. Body blocking Tiger perfectly. But with this Eternal Devotion, the Ghost, they're going to try to make something happen, and Kael'thas just pops.
Shouty and NC in the back there were doing a lot of good pressure on towards the 2 backliners to keep them out of that fight and keep the pressure on against Tempest. And that will be a 2-for-1 because we saw that huge pressure on the backline.
Taking out Uther is basically worst case scenario when you're against them because he does stay up and give a lot of healing to the team, and that's why they were able to stay so aggressive despite the fact that they lost their support. With that, they pick up an altar, and now heroic abilities are coming online.
Yeah, and remember, I mean, once again, eStar always seems to pick compositions that are very, very tough to make work. A solo warrior Tyrael in their composition means that they're putting a lot of emphasis still on their frontliners like the ETC. Even Zeratul, to a certain degree, being in the middle of the fight for quite a long time. Thankfully, though, Divine Shield and Sanctification are going to help them out splendidly in this game.
It requires good team fight manipulation, which is always one thing that I thought eStar excels at really well, is pulling people back into the positioning that favors them and then pouncing. And they have the heroes that allow them to pounce, right? Falstad could go in for an aggressive Mighty Gust. They have Greymane, the ultimate pouncer, as well as Zeratul.
The ultimate pouncers. That's the verdant here. Gravity Lapse doesn't catch anything, though. Only on towards minions, so Lockdown not really getting the best start to that fight, and that's why we're going to see Tempest back off there. They just wanted to capitalize off Kael'thas' powerful ability.
They're still trying to maybe put some damage on the bell tower, but need to be careful here. A lot of stuns hit Nitya, and he's fairly low in health. Toomey with the dodge on Gravity Lapse, always really important versus Kael'thas, especially when he's going for that Gravity Crush build. And with the Netherwind talent at level 4, it of course increases the range too. So it's just, they really have to make sure that they're staying far enough away not to get hit by that.
All right, well, slowing things down a little bit for the moment, as they've already put a lot of pressure on towards that bottom bell tower. And we will have this easy sappers being taken towards the bottom, which will always navigate towards the bottom lane here for them. And we're seeing eStar trying to slow that lane down. They know there's a lot of potential for this to become a problem, and that's why you're seeing always this easy camp heading down towards the bottom. Why the teams are controlling this so much, because it can snowball out of control with that potential.
Yeah, with the fact that there is 2 available, and they've already done a lot of damage to it. The fact that Toomey has Boomerang now too, he can take those out pretty easily from a safe distance. But the next altar phase starting pretty soon. It's in the bottom, so hey, everybody's mostly in position, and we're just waiting on Sylvanas and Zeratul to join the party.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they know that Honkono actually moved towards the very bottom position there while this is about to go down. Tiger's going to try and channel. Muradin will be able to deny that, as NT at the front is taking quite a bit of damage. If he goes down, it's almost do or die really for eStar. They need to keep that alive, but lockdown gets blown up on the backside there as Sylvanas ends up actually going down, I should say. And now that is going to be a 5 versus 4 here for eStar. They might be able to capitalize.
Sanctification was used. They didn't quite get anything off of it right away, but now with Kael'thas down, this is turning into a tough spot for Tempest. The Void Prison hits 2 members, and eStar was setting up around it. Rhaegar gets the Ancestral Healing on Dami, but pays for it with his life. Muradin goes down. Hammer of Justice hits a new Barak. Where's the Burrow Charge? Needs to try to escape all of these members, but everyone from eStar is on the hunt, and Shinxi's just watching for it, lying in wait. And they get every member. Every member. So perfect from eStar. And you can really see where these comfort picks really come into play. Yeah.
They are just rocking these team fights right now. And they are surviving time and time again. Even Tyrael isn't really overextending to the point where he's getting himself in trouble, because the follow-up, the pressure that we're seeing from Zeratul and Greymane on towards the backline means that Tyrael isn't taking any damage when he's that far deep in.
Right. It's one thing we're seeing from eStar time and time again is how they're able to control these fights with these heroes specifically. But, of course, we always have to think about the fact that they've been in this position before. They've been ahead in a game. And that was last game, and it didn't turn out so well for them. So they need to be patient and continue to be patient throughout the game, because of course the core is not done until it hits the 0. There's always the potential to come back on Towers of Doom.
Yes, there is. They need to take the fights as well as they did that last one. As Dami, that's the wrong way, Dami. Let's go a different way. He's just kind of poking into that bush, anticipating his opponents being there, because that's what eStar like to do. And Verdant Sphere Gravity Slaps on towards 2. That Flame Strike actually hit quite a bit of damage on towards Jinxie as NC there. And that is going to be an easy steal of this camp for eStar.
Yeah, again, that's eStar saying we have the talent advantage. We can either make you come fight, or we're going to take what you want, which is these Pumpkin Sappers. And that Bell Tower is getting very low. Honkono's going to Dwarf Toss away. Toomey allows him to escape with a Mighty Gust.
Yeah. It's like, just have a free escape there. If Honkono hadn't Dwarf Tossed at exactly the right time just then, he would have potentially been isolated away from 4 members of his team. So that was kind of the thought that Toomey was going for, but it's a Muradin, so it's kind of difficult to get that follow-up kill.
It really is. But they have kept that Bell Tower alive too, which is a really great thing considering the fact that they were dealing with not having 13, there were Pumpkin Sappers for eStar, and had they lost that, it's tough to try to get both of the altars here, so they would have been dealing with a lot more shots from it.
Zhao Ti now has Wormhole, so he'll poke in, just cleave, and then go all the way back. As Tiger is already channeling that, and there's no way they're going to be able to really deny. Look at the frontal wall that Toomey and NT have set up there. Honkono up towards the top, trying to slow down Tyrael there for a moment. Duck going very far in there with the Haunting Wave.
And Duck might be caught in a weird spot. Wailing Arrow did come out, and there is Sanctification, and Dami and Burrow charges away along with Ancestral Healing to get back into the fight. Members of eStar are moving back. They've taken a lot of damage.
Toomey did huge damage with that Hammerang down towards the bottom, and you're right, that Wailing Arrow coming out really didn't do anything there for Ducks, because he got himself in a precarious position right next to a frontliner, and he had to try and scramble for an answer there. So a little bit of a misplay, I would say, by Duck at the start of that fight. A nice little Stormbolt by Honkono, but they could set up this foot wall once again to try and get Tiger that pickup.
And they tried to use the Mighty Gust. They put them in as this spot where now they are in a lot of trouble. Void Prison hits some of the members, and Zhao Ti is moving around to the side, but Hyde has found him. Sylvanas still.
End up going down there as well, and Zeratul's going to end up falling as Hyde was able to pick him up, but they're going to lose 3 for 1 at the moment. Honkono is trapped in the thick of things. Dwarf tosses away. Will they continue on? I don't think they will. Even that tower and fort are enough to really put on pressure against eStar, and they will take this. Let's take a look at that fight once again here to see exactly how it went down.
It went so back and forth. I thought Zhao Ti might just die right here, but does get out and away with a good blink. Meanwhile, the Void Prison allowed the team to take out Sylvanas, and then Dami was quick to follow, turning around. Honkono does Dwarf Toss away from that, but still, it was such a back and forth, a long, drawn-out fight but finally with a good Void Prison, allowing them to finally move around and get into position, they were able to get the takedown and the altar again.
And Shouty feels comfortable enough in the middle of these fights to take double bombs at level 16. So he's normally, oftentimes you see Rending Cleave because it's an easy little extra answer to damage, but double bombs is a significant amount more damage. We could even see Rewind at level 20 to the point where you get quad bombs, which is super fantastic, and that's so much damage. He's found so much room in these fights, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, it's so hard for them to know who to focus, right?
Yeah.
For Tempest to focus, they say, we have to watch out for Greymane.
Yes,
False
exactly.
That's coming from the side,
Yeah.
though, too. What about those Mighty Gusts? But Greymane, he's been trying to feed. He's actually completely fed now. He has a full 30% extra attack damage because he's built up 10 stacks. And so, yeah, who do you watch out for? Of course you're going to maybe drop the ball and not see Shouty coming off from the side.
That's a good gravity lapse there, but unstoppable instantly as he was get cleansed out of that position. And eStar going to go in deep for this one. The Audrey Sanctification been used. They can't really do any damage towards them. Honkona trying to zone out Shouty on that right-hand side here. NC taking a lot of damage. This is a good fight for Tempest to try and bring themselves back just a little bit. Oh, but NC will get away with Eldraoon's might.
Tempest did that 15 to 16. Yeah, they used Wailing Arrow and Locust Swarm, but they got a lot of heroic abilities used on eStar's side too. Divine Shield's down, Sanctification is down too.
It's got in far. They went in way too far there to actually try and go for this fight. The fort's not with them, actually. We're going to have the Ancestral Heal on towards Lockdown, and that is going to be Tyrael already being blown under that. It was a good gust there, but that is going to be 1-for-1 at the moment, but Ulthar has already gone down as well, so 2-for-1. Tempest still win that fight despite that gust.
Jinxie was really scared to go in because he's fully stacked, and he was low in health, only getting healed back up after Uther was taken down. And you could see him, he was just waffling in the back as he's like, guys, I have 10 stacks. Please don't make me go in and fight this from low in health.
Yeah, there's no way that they really want to take that. Shouty ends up going down. That was a great catch for them on towards Zeratul. That's 50 seconds without a Void Prism. But one thing that Shouty did really well there, and I want to point this out, is he didn't panic and use Void Prism to try and get away. Because if you do that, it's down for so long after he's still dead that you potentially lose it in the next team fight that's coming up.
eStar really needs to not panic at this point. Yes, they lost a team fight, but they're even on Bell Towers because they still have the bottom one. They're ahead in a full level of experience, and look at the core health, 28 to 7. They just can't lose patience like they did in the last game. They have this one.
Yeah, they have patience. You can see it. I absolutely love that move that I just pointed out for not using the Void Prism. All too often you see Zeratuls in pro, even in pro matches, use the Void Prism and just die, and then it's on cooldown and it's rubbish.
Right.
But that patience there from Shouty, I love it. I love it.
There's several times that you see that, right? Often you'll see it with Divine Shield, too. Uther will use Divine Shield himself, can't get away even with the extra movement speed. And then the cooldown for the heroic abilities is much longer than your death timer. So it's great for them. Now eStar have every heroic ability up, but so do Tempest. The thing is, they have to contest everything because they're really getting down on core health.
And that would have been on cooldown if he'd have not actually used it. So maybe they can guarantee themselves a kill instantly off the back of this. Dug made unstoppable, haunting waves away, and does manage to escape there. Very good play from Hyde and Dug, but at the same time, Dami taking a lot of damage. Ancestral Heal on towards him. They're trying to put on pressure. That Divine Shield on towards Zeratul. So clutch at the very end, and walking back in there to that Sanctification, trying to keep himself alive was Uther, but he doesn't get kept alive, and that's Tyrael falling as well. Tempest took a great fight despite that good Void Prism to start off that fight.
Everything came down to keeping Anubarak alive, and they did. And as Ancestral Healing connected, he burrow charged back in there. They had to use not only Divine Shield, but Sanctification too. And that's both of, well, this is support, but also the warrior support in Tyrael, who is also down. And Tempest can now run rampant on this battleground.
This is the first time in this game Tempest has taken the experience advantage. So now they're pushing towards level 20. They're down in so many shots, but they can secure both of these altars towards the top and start mounting some kind of comeback. Is this going to be a repeat story?
I don't know, but I'm very worried for them in that regard, because still with only 16 seconds left for Tyrael and Uther, Tempest is already in position to get both the altars. They get them both. They get all of the shots from it because the bottom fort was just now grabbed by eStar, which means 10 shots off of that and 4 more from the boss.
They're back in. They are back in this game with 4 shots going off from the boss. As you say, they are ramping it up here against eStar. This is going to be a good finale to this game. eStar, they're not out of it just yet by any means. They've got them 20 themselves, and it will be that rewind. So Zeratul is going to do big damage if he's left alone.
They get these leads and then they psych themselves out, but now Tempest are at level 20, so they need to realize they are playing on even talent tiers. Wailing Arrow
Yeah, and it made unstoppable as well there with Singsi as Dommy's going in quite far there. They're going to just go for this fort, and that's very, very nice. They get the bell tower even, I should say. Looks to Shouty going in there, blinking forwards, wormholing back with that cleave on towards Dug. He manages to get away. Dammy likewise though, taking a lot of damage. Ancestral Heal needs to come out on towards him, but I don't think it is even going to come in. Yes, it will. They've brought eStar very, very low here of Tempest. They've managed to turn this game around even further.
They've separated Nightjaw so far from the rest of the team and just dismantled the members in the backline. Sheeksy goes down. That's all of his stacks. Falstad will follow.
Oh, this is a perfect fight for Tempest once again. Every single time they come in for these fights, eStar is on the run. There's no altars up just yet, but they take another fantastic fight, Gilly.
This is just so crazy to see from eStar. They had such a lead in last game, and then one fight brought it down. They had such a lead in this one, and then with one fight, Tempest gains steam and just won't lose another fight from that.
You can see that the pressure's on them. You can see that they are currently sweating. They are really up against it right now at eStar because, again, this is their tournament life on the line. Don't let those numbers pull you up towards the top of 7 shots remaining against 14 shots because right now, Tempest are very much in control of this. Look how many bell towers they've taken, and with the altars about to come up.
And that's why Sylvanas is so good on this battleground, is because you win a big fight like that, and you can protect them all. They might lose Dami here, but he has still his burrow charge. They've protected this for so long.
They need to kill this so fast. They're losing shots. Every single bell tower is taken, and when that happens on this map, that means that your core continuously fires shots until one of these bell towers goes down. Now they stopped it. They got 3 free shots. If Tempest secures both of these, that is over. The game is over.
eStar is starting to channel this altar. And Tempest are going to be too late to grab it, but they know that they have so much momentum at this point. They've tied up the core.
5.
It's so close.
5-5, and Tempest is not letting up on the pressure at all. They're going to go back into this bell tower. You can see at the same time, they know that they can't defend the top one, so they're going to have to trade, and they need to keep a bell tower on their side every single time, because unless they don't do that, they will lose within 30 seconds of this game, pretty much.
It's so rare that you get to this point as a team that you are able to control all of the bell towers, but it comes down to Sylvanas and winning such a crazy team fight so late in the game. They had a ton of time to rotate between lanes and pick all of those up. It's still 6 bell towers.
Yeah, this is crazy. They're rotating on. They're looking to defend this one. You could see Muradin and Kale Fast gearing up to try and put pressure onto the middle one. But at the same time, Falstad did a good job of securing the one down towards the bottom. So they have got themselves a 2-4 position. But at the same time, Honkono jumping over, looking for the stun. Don't quite grab it. Not going into the kill zone.
Tempest is basically trying to put eStar into an unwinnable situation. They say, okay, you can try to take these back, but we'll defend them. And that forces you to get into a team fight against us. And you haven't been winning those team fights.
Did a camp got to the kill zone? So it's 2 shots now?
Oh
my God. Oh, Tempest. You have played this out phenomenally. If you win this game, you deserve it. But at the same time, eStar not down and out just yet. They have a small window where they can try and deal with this. The next shrines that come up, I mean, the next altars, that's going to be it. But they don't want this to be escorted at all. Fight's going to come in. NC taking a lot of damage. Zingsti on towards lockdown. It's not going to work. Wailing Arrows hit on towards 2. Trying to keep Zingsti alive. A Sanctification gets thrown down on towards Tyrael. But they're all so low. Greyman ends up falling. eStar here is crumbling under this pressure. Zingsti tries to get away with Eldrarune's might, but Tempest are so healthy, Gilly.
Greymane was separated from Tyrael, and now Tyrael is going to be the next one to go down. He gets caught by lockdown, and there he goes. It's only 2, a couple of members left.
That altar, unless Zeratul, Uther, and Falstad can make something magical happen here against Tempest, they will be marching on to the grand final. They lose another bell tower, and Duk is ready and waiting for that one. Falstad's gonna fall, and that almost guarantees themselves this position.
Tiger is going in. It's just him and Zeratul. Honkono comes from the side, and the B-Walks are coming out.
Oh, it's not enough.
Realizing it, the channel has started, and where it seemed like they were so behind in this game, Tempest bring it back, and with that, eliminate eStar from the tournament.
Oh, GG! Tempest are able to move on to the grand final here. Make it an all-Korean grand final. The rematch of the Korean Super League will commence here in just a moment. What a win for Tempest, and what a way to come back. Game after game, Gilly.
Man, 2 games in a row, being down in the early game, but staying patient, taking deep breaths, winning one decisive team fight that allows you to come back and then win every single fight from there. That's such a scary way to play.
Yeah, such amazing fortitude that we're seeing here from Tempest, able to march on. You say they need to take deep breaths. I need to take deep breaths as well as you. This is what a series we just saw there. Tempest marching on 3-1 in this best of 5. And now, will they conquer MVP again is the huge question on everyone's mind, Gilly.
That's a big question on my mind too. They're the brothers. They have made this team together, and having a summer championship win off of that now, that would be such a great way to go.
Yes, it would. All right, we are done here at the casting desk. Let's head over to the panelists to see what they think about Tempest versus eStar.
Thank you very much, guys. And I think someone once said there were no comeback possibilities in Heroes of the Storm, but man, this someone is certainly very wrong, because on Towers of Doom, even after being behind for such a long time, Team Tempest did the impossible. They played very calmly, very focusedly, and they came back in dominant fashion.
I mean, it was just a tale of two halves. eStar dominated the first half, and then the second half they fell apart. They were being very aggressive. They were up, I think, 19-18 or 18-17. They were up a full level, and they decided to go down, try and invade a camp, and except Tempest had reinforcements, turn that fight around, and ever since then, eStar could not catch up. They just kept trying to take these weird fights, and things fell apart for them.
It was a fantastic game for Tempest. Like, that comeback was incredible. But before we're going to talk into your replays about how amazing they actually are to make this comeback happen, I have to give a quick shout out to two Chinese players. I gave Tiger a lot of grief for his Karazim on the last map, but here on that Uther play, that was fantastic. And he was the reason why Jingzi on Greymane had always the freedom to know that he could go deep for those kills. He played an amazing Greymane. It was not enough to win them the match in the end, but that was fantastic play from both of them.
This series here really felt like it could have been 3-1 for the Chinese team, by the way. Those last two games, they were ahead in both of them, and then they end up losing them because they kind of engage wrong in some of those big fights. And it's such a sad way to go out, but you have to commend Tempest on, I guess, just being solid enough to defend in both of these scenarios.
And we can definitely say that up to now, this was the hardest challenge that Tempest had to overcome. And I think we're ready for replay number 1 here, Jay-How.
I mean, this is early on where things were looking really good for eStar. Go ahead and pause it real quick. Actually, I want to rewind because this is what's fun about Zeratul. We talked about Greymane and Zeratul. Zeratul actually, it actually works to stand still. And we're going to see a dead duck here in a second as they go ahead and dive in. We'll roll it forward. But this fight prolonged for quite some time as they go in. And they're instantly able to delete Sylvanas before you're even able to get that hide, having to run back and try and defend. But the Sanctification, if we roll that back again, let's run it one more time. This is where the power of Tyrael helps so much. We see the Kael'thas trying to get the damage in, the Gravity Lapse, Flame Strike, everything going on there with the Living Bomb. And now we see the rotation down coming for eStar as they continue to put the pressure on Lockdown. We see he's basically on lockdown. Dami trying to do anything he can to help defend. Hyde, nice, Mighty Gust is going to isolate the rest of the team. And Dami just trying to zone out any way he can. Xingzi just staying alive there on Greymane, as Caldor said, trying to keep him up. There's the D-Shield that he's talking about, allowing him to do work. Ancestral Hyde sacrifices himself. We're going to see the Dwarf toss over, but capitalizing on that is Xingzi and the rest of the team as they get 3-4 kills there and really dominated early on.
Yeah, and once again, like, Jingzi really in a position where he knows he can go deep, and he can only do that if you trust your support, if you really know your support has your back, and that's what Tiger really did there. Every single time Greymane got low, he just moved for a moment out of the fight. There was immediately Divine Shield. He goes back in, and he got so many kills for the team here. It was amazing performance on his part, and a huge amount of damage.
Yeah, there was just so much burst damage available for the team comp that eStar Gaming was fielding. And for a very long time, they played that very well. Do you think in the end they were too aggressive?
I think without a shadow of a doubt they were too aggressive. They took fights they didn't need to take.
I think that fight where Shouty VP'd someone to try and catch him, and then the entire team came in. That was
the bottom left. That's when it all fell apart.
Absolutely, yeah. I didn't really understand exactly why they got overeager this way. I think he probably thought he could lock him down for some time in there. They could come in, get a very quick snipe just before, I guess, the map objectives were going to come up. But the defense of Tempest, every time if you fight on their side of the map, if you give them an opportunity to regroup And if you're not decisive enough, they win every single one of these fights.
I feel if you want to identify a bit of a weakness in the Chinese play, it's maybe then in the late game and to really let something go. Let an objective go just to wait out for level 20. It's
Right.
a lesson that a lot of the Western teams had to learn as well, where they just were in a position where sometimes it's just better to wait for a moment until you have the advantage again. Especially after level 16 hits for your opponent, you find yourself on even talents. Waiting for the next level to hit is sometimes the better call.
Yeah, definitely. And we now have replay number 2 available for you guys, and Jo is going to talk you through it.
This highlights exactly what Caldor is talking about. They come down, they see the camp being taken. They don't have to force this, but they do. And this is eStar as they go in. Look at the aggression. Let's slow it down here real quick because you're going to see, let's roll it back just real quick. And the key moment that happens right here, we see a complete collapse onto lockdown. But it is Sylvanas as we roll it forward who hits the wailing arrow, catches 2. Now, Tiger comes in for reinforcements with the Divine Shield, but there's not enough because they're silenced. It allows for the Ancestral to land onto Kael'thas and instantly turns around, takes care of that diving Greymane, and from there we just see a follow-up. The Mighty Gus not able to isolate enough as the Void Prison was used basically as an escape tool. And that was the Wailing Arrow. Again, Tiger enabled it, but the fact that the Wailing Arrow from Sylvanas helps to mitigate a lot of that incoming damage allowed for Rhaegar to land that Ancestral. And again, Caldor, as you said, that's a fight they didn't necessarily need to take.
I really think they felt pressure. They were down to 2 points on the core. They were looking for a fight. I think they were a bit scared that another camp pushes in towards the core. Boss was also about to come up, so there's like all of a sudden so many points on the map where Tempest can make the final play that they really felt if we don't take the fight now, we might lose. And then they took an engagement that split them way too much. You could see how Falstad was isolated in the backline. He never could really participate in the battle.
I think you're absolutely right. Tempest did a fantastic job after they got the leads of going from bell tower to bell tower and keep on securing them and putting eStar on edge, basically. That they got desperate and went into this fight that maybe didn't have to take, and I think an unfavorable
Todd makes a perfect point. I mean, imagine the mental pressure that's coming, knowing that you have to rotate time and like over and over. We see them rotate to the top, then they rotated mid, then they're trying to rotate bottom. They're making these calls, and you could see there was one moment, there was a moment of hesitation to where they were supposed to go top, and then they split, and it was just that delay. You can only imagine what the comms were like at that time, and I think it put a lot of pressure onto them.
One of the biggest pressure points was actually the one camp that got completely babied by Tempest at the top lane. With those shots coming in, all of a sudden they turned it into a situation where another camp moving through would end the game, where the boss could end the game, or the next tower to be taken. So that was really one of those moments where where eStar all of a sudden said, okay, and whatever happens here next, if we take another point on the core, we're done for.
Absolutely. And of course, ever since this best of 5 is now over, we can take another look at what the bracket looks like. And boys, the more time we actually get behind us here, the more intense this playoff stage of the Heroes of the Storm Summer Championship is going to get, right? Because now we have that grand final ahead of us. It is going to be the Korean grudge match between MVP Black, still the reigning spring champion, against their challenger and successful challenger is that, because the reigning Korean champion is no longer MVP Black, but Team Tempest. And boy, this is going to be Heroes of the Storm at its best level. And I can't wait to get to this series, though.
A grudge match is an understatement. This is the team that 4-0'd MVP Black. The first team to take a series off of them in who knows how long. But this is a chance for MVP Black to restore their glory, restore their name, and come back. We saw what happens when they lose a map. Can you imagine what's going through their mind? The fact that they dropped a series, the fact that they have redemption on this big of a stage. We're in for one heck of a show, guys.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you think that Team Tempest is still in their dominant shape as they were? Do they still have what it takes to take down MVP Black one more time?
I believe they have what it takes, but I believe that there is absolutely no way that MVP Black underestimates them once again.
Yeah.
They said that in the Korean season that they underestimated them after their earlier victory in the bracket. That's not going to happen anymore again. So right now, this is a completely different MVP Black that is looking at this match, that has identified the weaknesses of Tempest. Tempest definitely has the skills to win once more, but this is going to be so much harder for them than in the Korean final.
I totally agree. And now, guys, you just have to be patient. Once more because the grand finals is going to take place very soon. For now, though, we're also going to announce something very special coming out here by Blizzard for you guys out there. There's going to be a hero-free weekend, so to speak. You can play all the heroes that you can ever imagine from June the 24th until June the 27th. So tell everybody about it and grab that free gold, because you just have to level a hero to level 5 to get some sweet 500 bonus gold and potentially buy some new heroes after the weekend action is over. And of course, also we want to mention our friends at the Score Esports, a very nice app if you want to stay up to date in all things related to Heroes of the Storm and of course esports in general. Also, thank you very much for your patience throughout this tournament. We will be back in a few minutes with the best of the best. MVP Black in the grand finals here against Team Tempest in another best of 5. Don't go anywhere, guys.